Hey, Chef Eric Eisenbud here, the Grateful Chef. Welcome once again to the Grateful Chef Kitchen, where each and every Wednesday night, or close to it, somewhere thereabouts, we're doing real life cooking here. Me, you, together, and Lynn, the producer, the cameraman, the wind beneath my wings, is here manning the iPad and the video and the audio. And we are extremely grateful for that, because without her, this could not be possible. So always, say hello to Lynn. Give her a nice word, some kind words, some encouragement to keep doing this every week, because I want to keep doing this every week.
You're making it sound like I don't want to.
She wants to. Trust me. Trust me. So, yes, again, anyone who is seeing the show for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Grateful Chef Kitchen, where we are cooking up a storm. We've been doing some great, since January, we've been doing some great kind of comforty foods, stuff that you're going to cook in the winter time. But I am really excited, man. Listen, I know that I can look through recipes, and I look through dozens and dozens of recipes all the time. It's my reading material of choice, our menus and recipes. And every so often I come across a recipe that I feel this way deep down inside, the need to share it with the people. So this is a recipe. It's not my recipe. I want to put that out there right away. This recipe I saw on Serious Eats. It is by a Daniel Gritzer. This is his attempt at the perfect Italian meatball. And I got to tell you, I've made it twice. We've been eating a lot of meatballs lately. And this is an outstanding recipe. So we are making what are called polpette, because they are not your big, you'll get that plate of spaghetti and meatballs with a nice sized meatball on there. This is more the appetizer kind of style. You certainly could make the meatballs bigger and serve them on spaghetti. That's totally cool. We did it. But these are real nice. You get 3, 4 in a portion. And it's a real great start to a nice Italian meal. So polpette tender meatballs in sauce. You've seen me make my quick tomato sauce with canned San Marzano and garlic and olive oil. Reduce it down a little bit, makes an amazing sauce. Little anchovies in there. You adjust for the bitterness of the tomatoes. It's a real easy sauce to make. So we have that sauce is what we're cooking the meatballs in, and we're going to top it with some ricotta and some Reggiano Parmesan, which I have been corrected, should be called Parmigiano Reggiano. So I call it Reggiano Parmesan, mother of all cheeses, as we have heard before. So that's what we're doing tonight. We put this to the side, and let me elaborate a little bit on this recipe, because we all either have or know an Italian grandmother who makes meatballs with her eyes closed. We got a little meat, we throw it in a bowl, eggs, breadcrumb, oregano, seasoning, salt, pepper, put them together, either bakes them in the oven, fries them in a cast iron skillet, throws them in some sauce, and it's like life-changing, like, wow. She threw it together in minutes, and they're amazing meatballs. This is not that recipe. We're going to leave that to the Italian grandmas. It's something in the oil in their skin, on their hands, that make them, abbondanza, So anyway, this is not that recipe. This has been put into the Serious Eats lab, deconstructed. How do I make each component better and great? And so there's a couple of pretty cool tricks in here that make these the juiciest meatballs that you will ever have. So we want to get to it. I'm going to tell you about the ingredients, but first, what I want to do is tell you, we're using a stand mixer, old red over here, and it all begins in the bowl of the stand mixer.
The very reflective bowl.
Very reflective bowl.
There you go.
Okay, so the first thing I want to do, this is 4 ounces of white bread, and this will be reflective too if you want to turn that light off. 4 ounces, right, well, like 4 ounces of white bread where I remove the crust and I cut them into cubes. And I want to get this started because this is our breadcrumb. This is called a panade. It's a classic. You take bread, you moisten it with milk. In this case, we are using buttermilk. Add a little bit background flavor. And instead of dry breadcrumbs, we're using a panade. That's one way these meatballs are going to be amazingly moist and juicy. So they go right into the bowl of your mixer. And this is a 1/3 cup of buttermilk. So I'm going to pour it in, moisten. You may need a little bit more depending on the type of bread. This is, I think, yes, it is Pepperidge Farm regular white bread, that you would use for sandwiches. So what I want to do is I want to mix it around in the bowl, and I want to make sure they're all coated. And I think I'm going to add just a tiny bit more. And we're going to let that sit and let that bread get moist before we go and mash it up. So I have a little bit more. And thank you to the people that decided to put buttermilk in a small container instead of having to buy a giant, half pint or half a quart. So just a little bit more, not much.
What kind of consistency are you looking for in there?
So this is, you want to, once they get moist, you're going to want this to kind of be like, like soft clay. So you definitely want them moist.
I'm gonna come over here.
I'm gonna mash up. Once these are wet enough, I'm gonna mash them up with my hands. Make sure there's no hard bits. All right. So we're gonna leave that in here and sit. And let's talk about the rest of the ingredients.
And hold on one sec. So Terry asked, is it fresh bread? When you mentioned
yes, it is fresh bread.
So you use Pepperidge Farm. I asked you the other day about Wonder Bread.
You could use Wonder Bread as well.
Okay.
It's just what the store had. The store that I was in, Fresh Market.
We've got a hi from Alan Molnar and
Alex
Bialik.
Alex,
and
my man.
Deanna said hi to me and you.
Who?
I said Deanna Schwab.
Oh, hi, Deanna Schwab.
And nice to see Mark out there, and Michael Boviard, and a whole
awesome,
bunch of folks.
Awesome. Beautiful. All right, next. So here's what we've got as far as ingredients. And we, of course, have parsley. So this is about half a cup loosely packed of parsley leaves. And then I just mince them up. No problem. Beautiful. That's going to add some color. And I'll, again, add moisture to the meatballs. We have copious amounts of garlic. That's about 8 cloves. Really big and really glowing because of the light. We apologize. But real fine mince, what I do, when I need to mince a lot of garlic, I use my rasp. So this is a nice microplane. Does a great job. Minces it up. Doesn't make too big of a mess. The next is, this is 2 ounces of that Parmigiano Reggiano that is glowing like it's nuclear. There we go. Reggiano Parmigiano. 2 ounces, grated up on a box grater, and that is going to add a ton of flavor to these. This is a medium onion. Nice dice. You could go a little smaller. Doesn't matter if they're this big. You just don't want big super chunks. This is fine. Great. Oh, we have some lighting adjustments going on here. How's that?
I don't know yet.
I think it's glowy.
It might be.
Okay.
Yeah, it's way glowy. Okay.
All right. 4 egg yolks. I gotta say, we've been using these pasture-raised eggs that I'm really liking. The color is beautiful. They separate the white from the yolk really easily. They're big, nice, and the yolks seem to be very resilient to breaking. So in a case like this, I have the 4 yolks, and that's really cool. All right, so we have a teaspoon of dry oregano, and I have a teaspoon of fennel seeds that are ground. So I ground a bunch of fennel seeds, and I grabbed a teaspoon for this recipe. It adds that Italian kind of background, kind of like, fennel sausage. Yes?
Can you buy ground fennel seeds?
You can buy ground fennel seeds. But I typically like to buy whole spices, toast them in a dry pan, grind them. You get much more flavor out of them. And then, of course, salt and pepper. I got that at the ready. And then the whopper of an ingredient that makes this a really special recipe. So the recipe calls for a half a cup of chicken stock. Homemade is best. If you don't have homemade, get the unsalted chicken stock. So I put that in a heat-proof dish, and then I sprinkle a complete envelope of unflavored gelatin on top. I know it sounds weird. Sprinkle it on top, let it bloom a little bit, and then I put it in the microwave for like 45 seconds just to warm it up so it dissolves the gelatin. Then you mix it up. And then what I do is I take one of these lids from one of these, from like a Chinese takeout, and I pour it. What I'll do is I'll put it in the fridge, and then I'll pour that chicken stock with the gelatin in it, and I'll chill it down. And what you get is basically a sheet of gelatinized chicken stock. And if anyone is familiar with the Chinese soup dumplings, that's how they make soup dumplings. They will take the pork stock and they will chill it and let it become a jelly, and then they will either mince it up or they'll put it in a chunk in with the meat, make a dumpling around it, and when the dumpling steams, that gelatin or the jello at that point will melt, and when you bite into a soup dumpling, you get a mouthful of soup first. So it's the same concept. So this will incorporate with all of our ingredients and will melt as you cook the meatballs. And I am telling you something, I have never had a meatball so juicy, and that is like the main secret right there. All right, now let's get right to it. So we have moistened our bread, and I'm just going to use my hands, and you basically want to just use a pinch motion, and you want to feel to see that it's all dissolved, it's all softened, there's no hard bits. If there's one or two, it's not that big of a deal, but basically I'm just pinching it, breaking up those little cubes, and working our panade so it is more like a nice paste. And I am happy with that. It's very good. Only 5 minutes to really get moist. And this is what you have. So it is a paste, right? That's the first thing that goes into the bowl. I'll give my hands a quick wash. All right. Now, to this bowl, we are basically adding all our ingredients. We're going to add our onion. We are going to add our parsley. We're going to add our copious amounts of garlic.
How many cloves of garlic was that again?
That was 8 cloves. These are really big cloves too. So, who doesn't like garlic? I guess there are some people that don't like garlic. We are putting in our 2 ounces of grated Parmigiano Reggiano, our 4 eggs, yolks, just the yolks, folks. We're putting in our spices, our oregano and our fennel seed, and our gelatinized chicken stock. In it goes. We're going to put a little salt. And now typically with a force meat, and that is anything like a sausage meat or meatballs in this case, or meatloaf for that matter, you want to kind of highly season it because it needs to disperse through all the meat that's broken down. All right. I wonder where the paddle for the mixer is. I think Lynn knows where it is. Excellent. All right. So, notice we have no meat in here yet. Yet. So I'm putting the bowl onto the mixer, putting the paddle on. We want to use this paddle. And starting on low, we are going to just start to incorporate these ingredients. It's important that you have a spatula, nice rubber spatula, because you're going to need to scrape the sides maybe twice. Slowly increase the speed till you get to like medium high, and you're really just bringing all this together. I'm going to scrape the sides. Make sure it gets all mixed well.
I come back over there.
Yeah, come on in. Bring them right into the bowl. You know, just really blending all of those flavors. Making sure that that gelatinized chicken stock is well incorporated and dispersed throughout. One more scrape down, and then we're going to get to the meat. So I have the meat in the refrigerator, because really whenever you're working with meat, especially in like a mixer or something, or you're making sausage, you want that meat icy cold, because otherwise what happens is the fat will melt from friction, and it will give it a different texture. So I kept the meat in till the very last minute. And here's what we've got. Oh, you know what I did forget? Because I had it in the refrigerator. The other ingredient is this pancetta. This is a nice fatty pancetta, and it is chopped fine. I'm going to add this in. Glad I didn't forget that, because that will have a huge effect on our final product.
So does it matter if you use the pancetta in the mixer, or?
Yeah, you want it, again, incorporated, dispersed. You want that pancetta everywhere, because that fat in the pancetta is also going to melt, add a ton of flavor, and again, make these the most juicy meatballs you ever had. All right. Now, one more scrape, and then we're going to talk about the meat. So this recipe calls for a pound of pork and a pound of beef. So I've got ground chuck, and I've got regular ground pork. And if you'll see here, I have it divided, and I'll tell you why. You want to take 1/3 of each of the meats, so 1/3 of the beef and 1/3 of the pork, and add it to the mixer right now. So I'm breaking it up a little bit as I put it in, but this will all get amalgamated in by the mixer.
So you've got a lot of dry aged beef guys that watch.
Yes.
Can you do this recipe with dry aged beef?
You sure can. It will affect the flavor, obviously, but it would be absolutely delicious with dry aged beef.
Okay.
All right, so typically when you're doing beef in a mixer like this, you don't want to overwork it, but this 1/3, you definitely want to work it in well with the existing ingredients. So again, medium high, just to make sure everything is mixed together. We're going to do a scrape, and then one more turn, and then we're done with the mixer. Nice. And that is beautiful. The smell is amazing. All right, one more medium high.
Smells herby.
Herby and garlicky. All right. Beautiful. And what I do is, while it's spinning, I will lower the bowl just to get it so it'll throw all that meat off the paddle so it doesn't get stuck.
Can I do that when I bake?
No. Okay, the other thing that happens is, and I'll show you in a second, any of the fat that decides to get a little stringy sticks to the paddle, so you don't have the strings of fat in your meatballs. It's really cool.
Oh, that's tricky.
It's pretty tricky. All right, so we've got our bowl. I'm keeping it in there, moving the mixer. Make sure these are not oiling away over here. All right, so now we've got our ingredients, including a third of each of the meats. And now this is where we're going to add the rest of the meat. So we're just going to rip it, drop it in, and this gets mixed in by hand. This is going to help with the texture of the meatballs. So it's not all, you know, otherwise it would be too gummy. So this is going to help put pieces of meat in between all the other ingredients. A little pork. This is all really fresh. I love having the fresh market near me because on Tuesdays they have fresh ground chuck for like $2.99 a pound, and it is absolutely amazing. All right, so now we're going in with our hands because that is the absolute best way to do this. Nobody said that this was a non-messy recipe. So basically what I want to do is I'm going to lift up all those ingredients in the bottom, flip the meat around, and you want to squeeze. You really want to pinch the meat and twist. And this way it's going to incorporate. And you'll be able to tell once it's mixed, you know, sufficiently that you're not seeing just like, you know, blatant just areas of just meat or just filling. You'll be able to tell. I like to take my fingers like a rake and kind of mix it through. You really don't want to overwork it. You want to just mix it, you know, as much as or as little as possible, but just to make sure that it's all incorporated. As you find the chunks of meat, squeeze them, get them incorporated with the rest of the ingredients. It helps that this bowl has a nice handle to hold on to. That's why I do it in the mixer bowl. Just like so.
I thought it was to reduce all my dishes.
That too, honey.
You are the best.
This is really great. Now, I made a recipe already today because I wanted to have it ready for you guys to see the final product. And so I had some time, so I put this in the refrigerator before I actually made the meatballs, and I really liked it. It helped that it kind of married all the flavors, and it also made the meat firmer, so it made making meatballs easier. All right, so this is pretty much mixed. I don't see any areas of just meat. It's all a uniform color. Okay, I'm going to make one more trip to the sink, of course, clean my hands off. And now we're going to make some meatballs. Beautiful.
So we're going to come take a look at your mix over here. So that is mushy.
Yeah, it looks good now.
Yeah.
All right. Now, shut those off. What you want to do is take a cookie sheet or a sheet pan like this, nice and shiny for the camera.
It's going to get shinier.
And you want to put some foil on it. Okay, I tried doing this with parchment paper. No bueno, as my friend Chris Sikorsky will say. Because we're making the meatballs on here and we're actually going to broil them. So we're going to put them under the broiler, brown the tops. Once the top's brown, I flip them over and brown the other side, and then they get put into sauce. So now I'm not going to make all these meatballs right now. I will show you, you know, one or two. So what I have here is this is called a disher. You could use it as an ice cream scoop, but the proper name is a disher. And this is a 1 1/4 ounce size. They come in all different sizes. I've got oval ones. I've got little tiny ones. This I found to be a really nice size for the polpette. So what I'll do is I'll fill it and I'll wipe the top flush and then just take it out and roll it. So I bring it to, you know, I fill the disher, I bring it to the side of the bowl, I scrape it around so I get a nice hemisphere like this. You can see that? Is it glowy?
Nope, it's good.
Good. And then you roll. So my rolling technique, I use this hand flat. I'm a lefty. and I roll it around. If it looks like it's breaking apart, don't hesitate to pat it down and, you know, kind of push on it to make it pack down a little bit. And then I use my my top hand as like a little cage, and I roll it around. And this is a pretty soft meatball, so they will flatten a little bit, like that one side once I put it down, and it goes right on the tray. I'll do one more. Scrape the side. Of course, you can do it with 2 spoons and roll them, you know. And again, you can make these regular size meatballs if you'd like, but I kind of like this. This recipe at this size will make 30 meatballs. It's a nice portion. Again, 3 to 4 meatballs per person is plenty. So I roll the meatballs just like that. What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to roll the rest of the meatballs, and I may put these in the freezer just like this, frozen, and then put them in a bag. This way, when I want to make these meatballs again, I'll just lay them out on a tray, bring them to room temperature, and broil them. So we're not going to go through the broiling. I'm not going to bore you with rolling 30 meatballs. This is going to go over here.
You were very kind.
Yes, I'm learning.
And so are we going to go over to the stove and take a look at what you've got over there?
I perhaps can bring that over here.
Okay.
How about that?
That would be great.
All right, so now we've done that. All that is done.
Pretend you've cooked them.
So again, broil and keep your eye on them. Brown the top, turn them over, brown the bottoms. Have your sauce already simmering at a boil, simmering, and then just put them in and cook them for, I think we did 45, 50 minutes. Taste one after 45 minutes. If you want it more tender, keep it going another 10 minutes. A lot of leeway in that. All right, let's put that right on here. This towel. And what I have here is a splatter screen so it doesn't bubble up and ruin everything. You ruined everything.
This one?
All right, here we go. These are hot. Now look at this. What could be bad about this? Absolutely stunning. We got a little serving spoon and our bowls. I'm going to do one bowl. So let me show you the size, of course. So they will shrink a little bit in the sauce, but here you've got a beautiful meatball. These are not going to be spongy. Look at that.
That is fantastic.
Beautiful. All right, so I'm going to put my portion in the bowl.
And what is your portion?
I think I'm going to go with 4. Grabbing some sauce, of course.
And the other day we put this on spaghetti squash, which was really good.
Fantastic, we did. It was great. All right, let me grab a little more sauce. So this is a typical application on how you want to serve these. All right, you've got the meatballs, you've got the sauce. Now for me, I like things a little spicy. So I'm going to first grate a little Parmigiano Reggiano over the top. Copious amounts, because we like that. Using my rasp. Cover that baby. Okay. And classic. Putting some nice cold ricotta cheese right on top.
That's gonna be
Nice dollop. Like so. That will mix in when you grab some of the meatball, you grab some of the ricotta cheese. And again, because I like it spicy, I am adding these Calabrian chilies that you can buy at a Italian specialty market. They're not super spicy. They're a little less aggressive than the seeds that you would maybe put on pizza. So I'm going to put a little bit of that on top. You know, it's got a nice oil on it. Fantastic.
Can you take that a little closer to this camera again?
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right, thank you.
Yep, really good stuff. Not too vinegary, nice and spicy. And of course, I love black pepper. I always put black pepper on my stuff.
So you don't have to serve it with the chilies or the pepper, and it's
or the ricotta cheese.
And it's absolutely amazing.
Correct.
Because mine will be without it.
Yes. All right. So these meatballs. Let me see if I can cut one. They're very tender. Okay, let's see if I can get you what the inside looks like. A nice piece of onion. See if we can come down on top of this one. I'm going to move the camera. Do a little bird's eye. All right, look at the texture. Absolutely beautiful. Super tender. We're going back to the bowl. I'm going to grab some of the ricotta. I'm going to grab some of the Calabrian chili. I'm going to sauce. Go for that perfect bite. Here we go. I love these. I can't even describe to you. I mean, you know, words, you know, elude me right now. These are just one of those recipes that every time you make it and every time you eat it, you will be just like, oh my God, this is a keeper. Great recipe. A little more involved than Grandma used to do, but all the efforts are well worth it. You come out with the juiciest, really best Italian meatball that I have ever had. So, I am hoping that you guys on my group, The Grateful Chef with Eric Eisenbud, will make this recipe, send the pictures, post the pictures on there. I love when you guys take the recipe that we do during the week, make the recipe, and give me your feedback on it. And, you know, don't hesitate. Listen, I'm not married to these recipes, so if you make a change to fit your flavor profile, I'm all for it. You know, it's awesome. So, yeah, on the group, you know, on this video will be posted on my YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe to that and share it with your friends. Great place to see all my videos. And, of course, our website, eatingwithcheferic.com, where you've got our travel stuff, my favorite tools and ingredients. Lots of cool stuff and information. All for you, my people, because I love you guys. You are why we do this, and we will continue to do this. So, yes, Lynn.
Just a couple of comments that I wanted to share. So,
okay.
Aaron,
you don't mind if I eat while you share.
Aaron Miller said, it looks really straightforward and worth a shot this weekend, so that's really cool. And I love the fact, and that's why I went in for a real close-up, is that Deanna Schwab said, my mouth is watering, it looks yummy.
Nice. And you're going to love this, Deanna. It's great.
And, of course, Kevin asked about the blue painter's tape on your pepper mill, so I answered him.
Yeah.
It's just broken.
It's the duct tape of the Grateful Chef kitchen. Yeah, so anyway, again, thank you for joining us. It means a lot that you do as often as you do, and it's fantastic. So be kind, be well, eat well, or should I say it the other way?
Whatever works for you today, babe.
Okay, be well, eat well, be kind, love each other, because we are all we have, and life just ain't that serious. So we'll see you on the next Grateful Chef video with me, Eric Eisenbud, right here in the Grateful Chef kitchen. Peace.